So the last 2, 3, 4 weeks of my life have been basically DIY. It's been a busy one. I had a couple of friends from the UK came over and joined me, and we did a whole load of work together. Absolutely smashed it out, about 10 hours a day. Everything got ripped out, new floors. We even extended the terrace outside a little bit. I didn't want to have to replace the whole kitchen, so instead of replacing the kitchen, we're painting the kitchen doors, repairing some of the old broken bits, and it's starting to look really quite nice, thankfully. 20 years ago, it was quite nice to have like exposed wood everywhere, like nice wooden doors, all that kind of thing. Now it just looks dated, so we're literally painting everything, and it's taking ages. And when I can get out riding, the weather seems to have different plans for me. But that's Norway for you. So that has been the last 3 or 4 weeks of my life.
So it's actually the perfect day to be out riding today, but yet again, I find myself in IKEA. How'd you get out of this place? Leaving IKEA, wasn't there for that long. I got what I needed. There you go.
But I do have some footage from when I came back from Søgne, and what an amazing part of the country it is. The south of Norway is like the Norwegian Riviera. In fact, it's quite hard to believe that you're in Norway when you're there, particularly when the sun's out, because it just has that kind of like holiday feel about it. And when you meet people from the south of Norway, they're some of the most chilled people you can ever meet in your life as well. And they have the kind of the chilled accent to go with it. So here's some footage of me coming back from the south of Norway, from Søgne. And on the way, I get to show you something really spectacular. I'm heading back to Egersund from Søgne. It was so good to catch up with an old friend. Felt like we'd seen each other just the other day, but it's about 20 years ago actually that I spent some time with Johnny, and just the best. Literally like we'd met last week for a coffee. Looking forward to seeing him again. I'm thinking it might take a slightly different route, but I don't know if it's gonna cause me loads of extra time. And the weather's a bit funny. It was raining this morning until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just a little bit threatening today, so I don't want to kind of tempt fate and spend too much time on the road when I could be back in about an hour and a half or something. But there's some lovely stuff to see on the way home as well. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a diversion. It's not a massive diversion because this is the way that you used to have to drive or ride before they built this bridge, which I've ridden over a couple of times. It adds about 18 minutes, but I get to show you this unbelievable bit of scenery, which you're gonna love. Alrighty. So the road, the E39 in Norway, has been kind of developed a few times so that it makes it kind of quicker. It's turned it into more of a kind of a motorway, really. But before some of the huge bridges were built and some of the huge tunnels were drilled, this was the way you had to come if you were going to go down kind of the south coast of Norway. And in some ways it's better because obviously you get there faster, but in other ways you don't get to see some of the beauty that you did before. And I imagine some of the local businesses haven't survived because they just don't have like the footfall or the amount of people driving through that used to drive through. So, but I remember this place from when I first met Lillian, and we had to drive down the south coast and we stopped in Kvinesdal because they've got like a viewing point there. And we'll stop there on the way now so you can take a look. Behind me you can see Kvinesdal, and you might be able to see in the distance there's a bridge. Now that bridge kind of cuts out all this bit of road here, and that's this is the road that you used to have to drive when you were going to Kristiansand, or if you couldn't go over the mountain to Oslo because of the snow or whatever, you had to come up through this way. But now it's totally been cut out, all this bit of the road, because, or people still can use it, of course they can, like I just did, but that bridge basically kind of cuts out all this bit here, so you can just, it's a bit of a shortcut, saves you about 20 minutes, something like that, but you miss this view every time. And this is just absolutely stunning, really worth the extra kind of 15-20 minutes to ride round, because it's quite breathtaking. So I'm about another hour and a half or so, hour and 40 minutes away from Egersund. The weather is a little bit kind of incremental, a little bit weird. Not quite sure what it's going to do, although in the direction I'm going, it actually looks quite good. Fingers crossed I'm not going to get stuck in the rain, because that could really happen. And I'm not dressed for it. As usual, I will get absolutely soaked to the bone. But it's okay, I'm on the way home, I can dry when I get back if I do get wet. And it's really, really nice and balmy and warm today, so you're not gonna freeze to death even if you do get a little bit wet, so I'm not too fussed about that. So all I brought with me this time for this trip was just this bag, which I've got kind of strapped over the seat here, over the saddle, and just held on with these kind of bungee straps that kind of keep it tight to the bike. That kind of fits everything in it. This is my navy bag, the one I picked up for 10 quid from the army surplus store. This has been perfect. Definitely going to be using this setup again. It's just so nice, so easy to take off and put on. So No need for kind of huge panniers and stuff sometimes, just an overnighter. This is more than enough for that. So I've got some tools with me this time, don't worry. Never ever leaving the house without tools again. And all the bits and bobs I need for probably a few nights, to be honest. And I could, could still put the tent on the back and have just that one pannier. And the good thing about this is it's also a backpack, so I can sling it over my shoulder if I need to, but that's been perfect for this little trip. To stop and get something to eat because I am absolutely starving and I don't even know what this is. That looks like a egg and bacon bap. That's definitely alright. And a coffee. It hasn't been a long journey today. About 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. And on these perfect roads, it just feels like kind of effortless. I'm about an hour away from home now, so I'm just going to eat this, have my coffee, get charged up, and head out. So this is kind of typical Norway. You think it's going to rain, and you end up with sunstroke instead. It's a little bit unpredictable, to say the least. It wouldn't surprise me if on the way home, I go through a really kind of sunny streak, and then it just pours down with rain out of the blue. You can kind of experience all 4 seasons in a day over here. You got to kind of be prepared for everything, weather-wise. I'm usually just prepared for fair weather riding, which is kind of my thing. But I am going to get some decent waterproofs because I do need them. But anyway, I'm heading off now. I'm about 50 minutes from home, so really not far away at all. Just filled up again. And as with this tank on the, it's a 15-litre tank on the Thunderbird. And you know for sure you're going to get 100 miles, but you're not quite sure how much more than 100 miles you're going to get. So I tend to fill up every 100 miles and just reset the clocks to 0. And there's always petrol in the tank when I come to fill up, so it's not like I'm empty. Just to be on the safe side, you do not want to be running out of fuel in the middle of nowhere. So I tend to fill up every 100 miles or thereabouts. It's worked so far. Here we go again. that's me. That's me home. And I managed to dodge the rain. And I got some sunshine. But it was kind of threatening for a bit. Until the next one. See you soon.